So I'm making this video because I have now worked in sports for just over 10 years, off and on. Oh my gosh. And it started as a summer job and kind of snowballed from there. But before I get ahead of myself, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kaylee. I run a website, blog, and all of these social media sites called The Sports Passport. I am originally from Washington State and I now live in Boston, and I work for the Boston Red Sox. So of course, working in sports and running a sports related blog, social media sites, I get asked all the time, like, how did you get to where you are? And I get that question, and I think people are often looking for the secret answer, the secret sauce, as I like to call it. But the truth is, there is no secret sauce. There is no one true answer. Everybody's journey looks different. Everybody's pathway to X point is gonna look different. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's why we should share our stories. And I don't want my journey to look the same. I sound like I'm on The Bachelor, my journey. I don't want my journey to look the same as yours, and I want you to kind of blaze your own trail. But in the same vein, if this inspires someone to keep going or to truly go after something that they are passionate about, then first of all, thank you for listening, and I'm gonna be your biggest advocate and your biggest fan. So starting from the beginning, like I said, I grew up in Washington State and I was always really active. I was an athlete. I played, well, I cheered, I danced when I was younger, and then I played soccer, basketball, and volleyball. Volleyball was kind of my one true passion. I thought I was gonna go to the Junior Olympics. I thought I was gonna go to the Olympics. I thought I was gonna have a D1 volleyball scholarship, and that just didn't work out for me. I unfortunately listened to one too many people's opinions telling me that I wasn't tall enough, I couldn't jump high enough, or for one reason or another, I just wasn't gonna make it, which sucked. But it also sent me on a path that I think led me to where I am today, which is working with people and being a resource for people. And while I was playing volleyball in high school, I was also the student body president and heavily involved in leadership activities. And I think that's what really sent me on this path of finding that I have a heart for service. So right after high school, I graduated and I started working for the Tri-City Dust Devils, which is a short season single A team, which was then affiliated with the Colorado Rockies. I started working there because it was a summer job, it was outside, it was baseball. My friends worked there, so why the heck not? I worked there for 3 seasons. I started out as the mascot. That still makes me laugh. Which I was the escort to the mascot, basically being the ears, the eyes, and the voice for the mascot. Yeah, I didn't know it was a job either, but there it was. So then my 3rd season with them, I ended up becoming an intern for their PR communication marketing team. And then after graduating from college, so the following year I graduated from college with a degree in communications and a minor in journalism and public relations. And so I ended up staying where my college was, which was Spokane, Washington, and working for the minor league team, short season single A team there, which is the Spokane Indians. And while I started working there, I had every intention of not staying there throughout the summer. And that is because I had entered and won the job of Miss Washington, which is in the Miss America organization, which we're like, hang on, wait, what? You were an athlete and then you became Miss Washington? Yeah. It's amazing how much you learn from sports, and you can take that into pageantry, which pageantry is its own sport altogether. But I think the essentials are you a good leader? Can you communicate with people? Do you have a heart for serving others? Because it's not all toddlers and tiaras. It's a full-time job for 365 days. You are out in the community, you are serving others, you are earning scholarships, and you are essentially amplifying the voices of other women and people who might not have a voice in particular. So that year was incredible, and like I said, that is a whole nother story, but it allowed me to network and connect with a lot of different people, particularly within the greater Seattle area, and that is how I started working for the Seattle Mariners. I was working for their promotional team for the season, and again got to connect and network with a lot of different people. That was the first year working for a Major League Baseball team, so I got to learn a lot of the ins and outs of a stadium, and what goes into all of the promotional events and activities. And that, I think, is what kind of sparked an interest into the food they serve, the activities they do, where is the mascot hang out. So at the end of that season, I was taking all of my stuff from Washington to Arizona, which is where my parents had moved. And I was doing so because I was then moving out to Boston. So my mom and I headed down the Pacific Coast Highway, all the way down Oregon, all the way down California, and on the way we would stop at baseball stadiums. So before then, I had been to 2 of the 5 California teams. I had been to the Angel Stadium and I had been to the Dodger Stadium. So we were stopping in Oakland, San Francisco, and San Diego. And because we were only there for one night, I was sitting in there thinking to myself, like, well, okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna eat? What are we, where do we anticipate sitting? Where is the mascot? And so I was starting to do my research, and I just found that at the time there was nothing out there that could give me those answers. So I thought to myself, okay, if they're not there, then I'm gonna answer them. I'm going to be that resource for people. And that is how the Sports Passport got started. But not necessarily for a few years, because I just had this, well, natural fear that it wasn't gonna work out. People were gonna have their opinions, and I didn't want to be like my old self and listen to people and tell me that I couldn't do something when I wholeheartedly knew that I could. So then I get to Boston, and I truly believe that it's because of my experience working with the Mariners and working in minor league baseball that I then got a role working for the Boston Red Sox, which again just showed me another side of working for Major League Baseball, working for fans, truly making people's dreams come true. And it just set my soul on fire. I said, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Then, I know I'm like jumping back and forth, but I literally went from Seattle to Boston, back to Seattle, and then this last October moved back to Boston. Bing, 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 bing. We're here for good now, I promise. But when we moved back, I had no job, and I was sitting in Starbucks applying for jobs when an old colleague of mine reached out and said, there's this position available for the Red Sox. It's only 3 months, but I think you'd be perfect for it. And I ended up taking it, and here we are in August, and I'm still working for them. So needless to say, I've done a lot of hopping around. I've had a lot of experiences working in Major League Baseball. I completely even forgot that I worked for the Chicago Cubs for a spring training stint because my parents live in Arizona. I had reached out to the Cubs organization, and I was so fortunate to work for them. They are an incredible organization in itself. But beyond that, I've also been fortunate enough to work for the Celtics, the Bruins in part-time positions. I've worked for USGA Golf and as part of the US Open. And so I've just had these crazy cool experiences. So even though our stories and our paths are probably gonna look very different, what I think it comes down to are these 5 takeaways. First, keep going. People are gonna tell you that you can't do it. People are gonna tell you that it's not possible when it absolutely is. It is probably gonna take some hard work, it is probably gonna take some persistence, but there is room for everybody to be successful, so just keep going. Second, I alluded to this a couple minutes ago, but you just have to start. You just have to start. It's gonna be the absolute hardest part, putting yourself out there. For example, my mom and I drove down the Pacific Coast Highway in 2015. I didn't start the Sports Passport until 2019. Solely out of fear and what people might think. And I 100% regret it. So if there's something that is setting your soul on fire, if there's something that you are so passionate about, just do it. Be like Nike, just do it. Third, do not compare yourself to other people. Comparison is truly the thief of joy. And as I just said, there is room for everybody to be successful. Fourth, keep asking questions. Keep being persistent, because the worst that someone can say is no. And at best, you're earning so much more experience, you're learning, you're growing, and you will get to do some crazy cool things. And fifth and finally, just be so open to new opportunities, especially if it's not something that you particularly had in your head or on your heart, but you never know where that experience is going to lead. It's always going to be good to have experience, so take those opportunities like they're freaking candy. And I honestly think if you do those 5 things, then you can do whatever you want. And I sound kind of cheesy and cliche right now, but as someone who's just done it, I wholeheartedly believe it. So if you made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Bye.